What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. I'm super excited about the video today. We are interviewing my friend Amy, or Splattered on Instagram. She is someone that has lost a massive amount of weight, over 200 pounds, and we really go into detail about what it's like getting a weight loss surgery and dealing with the consequences, dealing with people's interactions with that, talking about how a lot of people might think that getting weight loss surgery is some sort of easy way out. So I really think that it's a very, very interesting video, and I'm super excited for you guys to check it out. But before we get into the video today, I'm very excited to announce we have a sponsor for the video. So I want to say a huge thank you to Built Bars for sponsoring this video. Super stoked. They sent out a bunch of different bars, and I've been trying them out the past few days. I'm super excited. The taste is really, really good. I'm actually very surprised. The way I like to kind of explain it is it's almost like a Three Musketeers bar, but a lot more dense. So it's really nice. I like it a lot. But this is the cookies and cream flavor. The macros on them are actually really good. So on this one, it is 130 calories, so they're pretty low calorie. 2.5 grams of fat, 18 grams of carbs, and there's 17 grams of protein in here. So it's like a pretty low calorie protein bar. They taste really good. So I'm super excited to be doing this sponsorship with them. So thanks to Built Bar. If you want to check out, want to pick up any Built Bars or anything like that, there will be a link down in the description below, and you'll be able to get 20% off your purchase. But huge thanks to Built Bar for sponsoring this video, and let's get into the interview. Thank you so much for it was a very, very short notice. I literally reached out earlier today, and I wasn't expecting you to be like, yeah, I can do it today. I was like, oh, maybe whenever, maybe in a week or something like that. So I really appreciate you being willing to be interviewed on the channel.
Yeah, well, don't know unless you try, eh?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I could. Yeah, that's true. So I just kind of want to go over your story, because what I like to do with these videos, with these interviews, is one thing that's really important to me is obviously to understand how the person lost the weight. I understand that that's why a lot of people watch these things. But what personally is almost, I would say, more interesting, but at least as interesting to me, is to understand how someone got to their highest weight, because I feel like so many people have different reasons. Some people have been bigger their whole life. Some people got big because of a thing that happened, So I would love to kind of understand that before we get into the weight loss for you. Does that sound good?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So the first question I have, what was your highest weight?
My highest recorded was 432 pounds. I reckon that was probably higher, but that was a weigh-in with a PT, and when you kind of drop weight really quickly because you're kind of embarrassed.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that was my recorded weight.
It's funny, you're like, yeah, dude, I'm only 432 pounds, bro. Don't even worry about it.
Don't look at me like that.
So for you, when with your gaining weight, was it something that happened all throughout your life? How, kind of just take me through your life and how you got to be your highest weight.
I was a big child. 8 big portions. My mum's Chinese but born in Malaysia, so obviously we're surrounded by good food all the time. I didn't eat crap, I just ate a lot, and I was always hungry. I did a lot of exercise, so I was kind of just an overweight child, not really too bad. Mm-hmm. And then I played a lot of badminton throughout my teenagehood, and as soon as I turned 18, the 3 hours of badminton on a Friday night turned into the pub. and it kind of spiraled from there, and I kind of met my husband, and I was at the age of 20, and I kind of felt comfortable, and I was just creeping up to that point when I was 25. I weighed in at that. I lost some weight for my wedding, but then I kind of did it wrongly and then put it all back on more. So just, yeah, not really eating horribly, just eating a lot, just eating to that point where if I wasn't eating to the point of stuffed, I was crawling up the walls hungry. Mm-hmm. And I think that was probably years of just abuse of filling myself up.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy? I'm sure you can look back now at times when you ate certain foods, and do you ever have those feelings of of course I was the size that I was? Does that ever pop into your head? Yeah, because that's something that I deal with a lot. I would think about, I've told this story before, but I used to go to McDonald's with my friends, and we would all get food. And in my head, we're all eating McDonald's, right? It's like we're all doing this thing. But like I was getting 2 McDoubles, 2 McChickens, a large fry, and a large drink, and then maybe some chicken nuggets on the side. And they were getting maybe 1 McDouble and maybe some fries and a drink. But in my head, I'm like, well, we're all eating McDonald's, but I'm eating like 3 times as much as them. So of course, you know what I mean? I got to, you know, the size that I got to. Did you ever have any, like being at that size, did you ever have any like health scares or anything that, like any hindrances because of your weight or anything like that?
No, actually, it was kind of weird. I was what I'd like to consider fathetic. Like I still moved around. Like I worked in a store, so I had to stand up all day, and I kind of prided myself that I wasn't one of those people that just sat down and couldn't move, even despite my heavy weight. I moved all the time, and I guess that kind of helped because. Even when I had the sort of pre-checkups before I had my weight loss surgery, the nurse was like, "What are you on? Like, are you diabetic?" And I was like, "No, just the pill." And she was like, "Oh," and then she tested everything. She was like, "Your heart rate is ridiculous. It was like 60 resting at my highest weight." Yeah.
That's crazy.
I had no high blood pressure at all.
People that don't know much about heart rate, like that might not mean much, but like a lot of people, when you get up to the size that you were, or like the size that I got to, like a lot of people, their resting is close to 100.
Yeah. And
so there's even people that are perfectly healthy now that their resting heart rate isn't even that low. Do you know what it is now? What your resting heart rate is?
I run a lot, so it kind of goes anywhere between 46 to 52, depending on how stressed I am.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So, yeah, she was kind of like, I was really thrown off by it, and I just, no pre-diabetes, no nothing. I was just big.
So with that being said, what was the catalyst that you were like, I want to start losing weight? Like what made you want to finally take that step?
Well, I've been trying yo-yoing for absolute years. Tried every diet, everything under the sun. Did Slimming World, did like Weight Watchers, did the low carb, everything. And you know, the older I get, the more worried that my good health isn't going to stay put. I'm pretty sure if I was keeping the way that I wasn't gonna get to 30. And be the same sort of health, if not alive. There was one particular day, which actually was the day that I decided that I was no longer, I needed help. I needed extra help on this. And it was the day that because I was also learning accounting at a nearby college. And so the 45-minute bus journey from the college in the center of town to my flat, I got harassed several times in public. So like there was a lady that tried to take a picture of me while she was on the bus and I was standing at the bus stop. I moved and the phone followed. And then there was also 3 men in a white van, like worker men, that screamed quite a few horrible words at me with the word fat and C word and F words and all that. And then on the bus, I got a lot of students like sort of snickering to each other and, you know, taking the piss. And then from literally getting off at the bus, and this is like there's like a crossing and a crossing to get to my house, and one crossing, another crossing, and on that other crossing there was a lady that with her kid in the back of the car, because there's a primary school nearby, or an elementary school you might know, screams, "Get out the way, you fat bitch."
Oh my god.
And I was like, I'm literally, it's a crossing, what more do you want from me?
Yeah.
And then again, like a short distance there, another girl in a very small car screams, roll down the window at me, and I'm like, wow, I can deal with this, like, you know, once a day, but that much in 45 minutes was too much.
Yeah.
And it was just getting worse. Like I couldn't go out to eat without people judging, and I called up my sister and I was like, I've had the worst time ever. This is too much. Like I was in tears, and she came over and said, you know, if you want, like, Mum has offered to take you down the weight loss surgery route for ages, and if you need that help, she's willing to help, because over here the NHS waiting time is years. You have to jump through a lot of hoops, and she was willing to just pay for it right there and then out of her pension money just to help me, which is, you know, I can't thank her enough, because it's given me a second life.
Oh man, there's so much there to unpack. Like, one, I think bullies are just pieces of garbage. Like,
Yeah.
I I was lucky that when I was at my heaviest, so I started losing weight when I was 20 years old. But when I was at my heaviest, I avoided a lot of outside interaction with people as much as I could. But I was always really good at making fun of myself before other people would make fun of me. But at the same time, like, it doesn't really apply to what you just said, because you didn't even have a chance, right? Like, it's just random people in public.
Yeah, I mean, I do that too. Like, I used to just take the piss out of myself amongst my friends. Like, I was always the joker amongst our friends, just the first one. Because if you take the piss out of yourself first, then no one else is going to, and therefore you've kind of pulled the rug out from underneath them.
Yeah.
So I get you.
Yeah. It's really interesting. And then I kind of wanted to go back to what you were saying about being like fathletic or whatever. Like, it's really interesting because I was kind of in the same boat, but until I wasn't. And so what I mean by that was, like, I used to skateboard, like I used to ride bikes and stuff like for a very, very long time. Skateboarding was how I got from point A to point B. And so, like, I would skate on the street and people, like, they would be in cars and they'd be like, what is going on? This 300-pound plus dude is just zooming by on this skateboard, and then I played, this is a nerdy of me, but I played DDR and I was really good. Okay. Dance Dance Revolution. Like, I played on Oni, which is the highest level. Like, I played at this youth center that was that I went to after school, and I literally would play on the hardest level, and I would be drenched in sweat, but like I enjoyed it so much. But like I was like relatively athletic, right? But then the reason I say I was like that until I wasn't, because once I hit like 18 years old, so I graduated when I was 17, but once I hit like 18, I got out of high school and stuff. I kind of stopped doing stuff, and I went from like skating and playing DDR and all these things to just I've said this before, but like pretty much the only time I left my room or my house was when I went to work, and then I would come home, like, and then so I personally, like, that's when the fears for me, because it's really interesting hearing your story, because for me, I was very scared of like my own mortality, I guess, and you kind of brought it up a little bit too, but like I didn't have any crazy, I found out that I was like pre-diabetic, but I didn't have any like you're gonna die, like this is gonna happen. A doctor never said that to me. Yeah, but I had this feeling, like, that's the only way to explain it, was like I had this feeling like this isn't good, and like there's gonna be something is gonna happen, and like then eventually I had like my whole click moment. But it's really interesting kind of hearing that, and then I mean it's really sad. I don't even know how to. It's really sad that your whatever, like, click moment or whatever you want to call it, was because people were being absolute trash. Like, that sucks, like it really does suck. But I don't want to say like there's a good thing because of it, but at least you didn't let it just make you feel bad and then continue. You were able to turn it around, I guess is the best way to put it, and like make it something positive. I hope that doesn't sound too like but like I hope you understand what I'm trying to say there.
No, I definitely did use like the words I've heard over the years as my fuel in the gym. I was pretty much just you sort of thing. And all the times I was struggling, I was like, this is to say screw you to all those people. Like, I'm doing it and I'm finishing it, and you can go there.
Yeah. So when you had that day, and then how did the next few days, few weeks, or whatever, before you got the surgery, like, how did that play out?
So that was in like May that happened, and I got approved. I went to go to like my private hospital, private hospital called the Spire, and I got approved for surgery because he was like, your BMI is like 79 or something.
Yeah,
it was awful because I'm only 5'5". I was wider than I was tall.
Yeah.
And
just a rectangle.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Just roll me around everywhere, please. And so he just said, like, you can book it whenever, but we were planning to go to New Zealand for like my mum's retirement thing. So I said, book it for September. And so he was like, from now until beginning of September, I want you to lose weight slowly and don't go too mad. Literally just do it sustainably. Like, just cut down your portions, make sure, and because you'll be doing a liver shrinking diet like the 2 weeks beforehand. So we don't want you to go absolutely. I just need some space. I need some space to work with. So that's what I did. I literally lost like, I think, £25 in those couple of months just by like
So yeah,
watching what I
nothing
was
crazy.
eating.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was still in. I was with the PT, the same PT, and I'm still with her now, which is great.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
she's great. She takes me
awesome.
out for
Wow.
runs and stuff like that. She's lovely.
That's
Um,
amazing.
so because I hired her for my wedding, and I lost weight with her, but then I went too extreme and was like chicken salad every day. Not good.
Yeah, I mean, that's the story that many people have. So
Yeah,
I think it's pretty
and
relatable.
it went straight back up after the wedding.
Yeah.
I was like, eat everything I want. It's fine.
Yeah.
Um,
How much
but
did you lose for the wedding?
I think I went from like 390 to like 300.
Okay, so like close to 100 pounds.
It was enough to fit into a size 24 wedding dress, which is all I wanted.
Yeah.
Like I felt great, and it was amazing. And my husband absolutely loved me seeing me like that because I don't dress girly, as you can see. Yeah, I was just like continuing exercising. Like all we did was cross trainer because that's like great on my knees at that size, and lifting weights. And I've been lifting weights since 2012 and happily been doing so since then. And yeah, come liver shrinking diet. That was hard because I had the choice, and it was basically slim fast shake for breakfast, slim fast shake for lunch, and a 300-calorie dinner for 2 weeks.
So can you explain the like? I'm not obviously I know you're not a doctor, but like the reasoning for a liver shrinking diet, and like what the point of that is.
I think it was basically to make room, as far as I was aware. Like, because obviously I stretched my stomach so there was an interesting story about that in a minute. But because I stretched my stomach so much, they kind of just wanted to shrink everything on your insides to obviously give it room, because they fill your inside, like your cavity, with gas, so they have plenty of room to like do what they need to do.
I know how that is. Sorry.
Yeah. So all that Chipotle.
Dad joke. Yeah, Chipotle, 100%. Okay, I'm sorry.
And so you could only have like certain things. So you could only have like 2 eggs a day and stuff like that.
Gee,
I mean, Rachel's writing it in the chat right now. I mean, I kind of just was like, do the thing that the doctor told you, don't f***ing up.
Yeah. So Rachel said, I'll just read it out. So the reason for this diet prior to your surgery is to help reduce the glycogen stored sugar in your liver. Reducing this stored sugar will help drastically reduce the size of your liver, which makes the surgical procedure easier for the surgeon. So basically, it's to make it smaller so there's more room. I mean, for layman's terms. Thanks, Rachel.
Yeah. And so that was 2 weeks of my life. I was working in an accountancy firm, and my table mates very nicely did the slim fast for breakfast and slim fast for lunch for me as a sort of like, yeah, we'll do this with you for these 2 weeks, which was very nice.
Wait, what? They did it with you?
Yeah, they ate whatever they wanted in the dinner, but at least they weren't flaunting their food in front of me, as they knew how hard I was trying. It was very nice of them.
What is going through your head? Like, is it just like pure willpower of being like, I have to do this? Like, I can't even imagine doing it. Like, that seems like it would be so hard. Like, I know 2 weeks doesn't seem like that long, but dude, that, like, when you're in the middle of it, I'm sure it feels like a lifetime.
Oh, it sucked. Like, because obviously I'm loving the big portion, so I was like,
yeah.
What worked with me, because of how much big portions I did like, was spiralized courgette ramen with 2 eggs in there, and filled it to the brim with veggies, because that really helped fill a space. And if anyone that has talked to me, they were like, oh my god, I am crawling up the walls hungry. I'm like, ramen courgette ramen is like,
what is that? Is that like a super low calorie ramen or something?
Yeah, this is like chicken stock and spiralized zucchini. Sorry.
Oh, okay, courgette. Oh, yeah, okay. That's why I was a little confused.
Yeah, that was my go-to for the 2 weeks, because that was just enough to fill a space at the time. And my mama was obviously cooking it, so she could cook.
How was there like a lot of irritability in that time?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I mean, like, I'm looking at my husband and I'm like, was I irritable? I don't think so.
Dude, maybe that's because I am the worst when I'm hungry. Like, hunger is like, I don't get mean. I get very quiet, and it's like, if you ask me something that I'm like, I don't care. Oh man.
Yeah.
it would not be good if I was in that position.
I was more just super scared of not doing it to the T to that point where they just denied me on the day. So
Yeah.
I was absolutely frightened every day that I wasn't doing it right. So therefore, I was just so strict with myself.
Mhm.
I was fine. They were absolutely. He was like, "You've lost 40 pounds from when I weighed you. Well done." And I was like, "Oh yay!
Yeah.
Will you take me?"
Well, no, I totally understand because I at one point I almost got the lap band, which was
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they did it in the UK, but in the US it was like this thing it actually wasn't around that long, but they basically like put a band around your stomach. And there was
Yeah.
like a similar thing before you got the surgery. You had to do a certain type of diet, and I just remember thinking like, man, I feel like that would be harder. Like not being able to eat any food would be harder than the actual diet that I'm on when I'm. So I just remember thinking like that would be so hard. Like, oh,
Well, actually, I went to my surgeon to ask for the lap band because that was all I heard in the news. It was either band or bypass. You didn't hear the sleeve. It was like the small one.
So that's what you
or
got was the sleeve?
extreme one. I got the sleeve because he
Okay.
was like, the band actually fails more than it succeeds. So I actually do not do it.
Mm.
And he recommended the sleeve, which was obviously more permanent because it removes 80% of your stomach permanently.
Yeah.
Gone. Goodbye in the bin.
Mhm.
And so he was like, I recommend this one. Like, it was the prerequisite before the duodenal switch and also the bypass. But, I've had so much success with it. I would recommend this. This is something that I specialize in, and it's the safest for you as an option. So I bit the bullet and I was like, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
So
it's
on the day,
interesting. Sorry, I don't mean to,
No, go for
to
it,
keep
go for it,
interrupting.
sorry.
I'm sorry, but like it's just
alright.
interesting because like it seems like the vast majority of people I've talked to personally that have gotten a weight loss surgery, it seems like it is a sleeve. Like it seems like it is by far much more popular than like the lap band. Now, I honestly I don't think I've ever actually talked to anyone. Maybe I have, but like has actually gotten and like had success with it because like you can just take it off and then just like okay, fine, good to go. But like with gastric bypass, I think I had a guy who this was crazy. He got up to he was over 900 pounds, and I think he got the gastric bypass. If I believe, I don't know. I might be wrong. But it seems like the sleeve is the much more popular, and I'm sure there's many reasons for that. But I just thought that was interesting. Sorry.
No, yeah. I know many sleevers. I also know many bypasses. I knew a few people who had a band because obviously Instagram is a thing that you meet many people who actually had a band, then went to a sleeve or a bypass because it didn't work for them. But yeah, the sleeve is like, I guess I want to say less invasive, but then you cut stuff out. Whereas in the bypass, you actually bypass the stomach altogether. So if you were to take out the bypass, you still have your stomach left, which is interesting. But yeah. On the day, he said to me that, if this is a little bit gross, I'm really sorry, that my stomach was so large from being stretched over that time that it was actually stuck to my pancreas.
Oh my god.
And he said it was like have you ever seen a drumsticks lolly sweet? Where it's like white and pink and it's like together? Yeah, he was kind of like that. And he was like trying to tear off the bits apart. And apparently it was good the fact that this was the part of my stomach that he was removing because he kind of just went, meh, and then, meh.
Just ripped it out.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh my god. It's crazy, man. Like what our bodies can go through is absolutely insane, right? Like I obviously have similar things, but it's more external, like my skin, right? Like I have loose skin because I was so large and I lost weight, but it's crazy because like yes, I have a good amount, but the fact that I don't have more is like it seriously blows my mind because like my face, like I had a big face. I had like a big like I used to joke around like my second chin was bigger than my real chin. Like it was like, and so like the fact that I don't have more, seriously, it blows my mind. Like it really does. It's insane. And the fact that like no one has ever, like your skin will stretch indefinitely. Like that's crazy to me. Like it will never, like, you've never seen someone that got so big their skin literally like ripped because they were big. Like maybe because they have like sores and stuff, but like literally like it will continue to stretch no matter how big you get. Like that. I'm going on a tangent, but it's just crazy. It's crazy what your body can do.
Like my sister, when I had my double chin, this is as a joke for us. She used to say that my lip piercing and my mole made a smiley face on the side. The lady that when I was doing plastics was like, I'm surprised that you don't have as much saggy skin around your face as you would have because of how big your face got when you were, because she saw me at my largest as well, like just wandering in the hospital because I had plastics in the same hospital, and she was like, "Oh my god, you're the same person." But yeah.
So take me through like the day of the surgery and recovery and like how it's been since you decided to get it.
Recovery sucked, but then apparently that's different for everyone. Like, I know someone who had the same surgery as me and was walking around quite happily the entire day, and I was like, oh well, good for you. I had 2 nurses to help me stand up to pee.
Yeah.
It was like my incision was like here, and I just felt it like so badly. I never had a surgery before. I'd never been in hospital for anything than the sprained ankle, and like, you know, it was awful. Yeah. And I felt like I was being ripped in 2. But thankfully, morphine. Thank God for morphine. But yeah, it was fine, and like, you know, I recovered well enough, and they were happy with me, and I went back home like 2 days after being in sort of the recovery unit, and it was kind of like a large learning curve because obviously I'm Asian, so everything is pretty much rice or noodles with everything. So, you know, cutting out that kind of carb of my diet was kind of hard.
Yeah.
But
cauliflower rice, there you go.
It's vile. I don't.
I agree.
I agree. No,
you're gonna trigger some people, but I agree with you on that one.
I've tried it. I'd rather have no rice than cauliflower rice. If I wanted microwaved fart in my mouth, I'd do it myself. But yeah, so my mum very nicely was like, "You're staying with me. You're not going to the flat. I'm cooking for you." And I was like, "Okay." So she made like, you know, stocks for because I had to go through 2 weeks of like stocks and like light fluids. Found out that my taste buds completely changed, and all those Slim Fast shakes that I brought for myself was absolutely disgusting because I couldn't deal with sweet. I was very much a savory person at that point.
Interesting.
Miso soup was a lifesaver because it had like the very soft tofu when I was in the softer stages. My mum also made like this weird like sort of steamed egg thing, where it's kind of like really soft and silken. It's kind of there's a Japanese word for it as well, and like Chinese also do it the same way. I'll find a word for it in a minute. But she steamed egg like that, and so it's kind of like in a custard consistency, how soft it is. And that was to get my protein in, and I couldn't take tablets at that point, but I was still having to take supplements, so I had to crush pills, which was gross, and I had to take liquidized iron, which is also gross. Would not recommend. It tastes funny. Yeah. And yeah, that was my life for like 4 to 6 weeks, and then by the time I was able to have solids, I was like, make me curry, please. My mum makes a banging Malaysian curry, which I meal prep it today because it's just you know, it's a great source of protein.
I want some.
People are like, I can't deal with spice after surgery, and I was like, I had sriracha on my eggs 3 weeks after. I'm sorry. So yeah, I basically had to relearn how to, because I can't, this is gonna sound really weird, I can't eat like roast dinners and like cheese and stuff like that. I mean, like now I'm vegan, so I can't eat that anyway, but like back then it was like, that's not my palate. It was always Asian because that's how I've grown up. So having to relearn how to cook for myself less carby, which in Malaysian and Chinese food is very hard. So I was like, have this without this, have like the protein and the vegetables first, no carbs.
Yeah.
And it was hard. It was hard in the sense of like, I felt like I was missing out, but after a while I was eating basically a small version of what everyone else was eating and enjoying myself. And going out for dinner was actually nice because I was like, oh, I can just have the tofu dish and a little bit of this chicken and I'm full and I don't feel like I'm missing out because I'm here amongst all of you eating just fine, which was really nice because that was my worry, is I couldn't go and eat out, but no one judged me because they knew how hard I wanted this.
That's really interesting that you bring that up because like the fact that I wonder if, and this is just me thinking out loud, But something I know a lot of people struggle with is like when they're out with family or when they're out with friends, people will try and force them to eat XYZ thing because they're like, oh, it's fine. You've been doing so well. You've lost X amount of weight. You should be able to eat this. But like the fact that you're like, I had surgery. I literally can't. Okay. Like, so like, it's almost like you could just be like, no, I literally can't eat it. Like I can't. Right. Because like like for me, I would have people that would kind of do the same thing. Luckily, I was also very lucky that most of my family and friends were like, they knew like how bad I wanted to lose weight. Like it was, they could tell like, this is the thing that I want more than anything. Right. And so, but like, it's just interesting that you're like, you can just be like, no, I literally can't have that. Like I had surgery.
Yeah.
I can't eat that.
When I went to see family in Malaysia when I was probably about 9 months post-op, it was for my cousin's wedding, and I was literally like, I can have a bit of this, and they would look at me like, because obviously I was one of those people that just literally just polished off my plate and more, because that's what you're brought up to be, and they looked at me like, eat so small? And I was like, I can't, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and like, isn't it, so the portion sizes get a lot smaller too, right, once you get the surgery?
Well, in the first year.
Yeah, so that's what I want. Yeah, that's what I want to talk about.
Is where you make and break your bad habits and good habits, other way around, but you know what I mean. So you can't, like, I get a lot of friends and family think that I'm restricted, like, as much as I was in my first year, which is definitely not the case, because if I was, I wouldn't be able to exercise the same way that I do now, because there's just simply, I can't get enough calories in, and I exercise like 7 days a week. And I'm sure some people still have quite a large amount of restriction. I eat more like a normal person now. Like, you know, a regular, like, I guess I would, probably like a young teenager. Like, you know, not too much and not too little.
Mm-hmm.
And that's definitely where I had to make my good habits, because you can't rely on restriction forever. And that's where I made sure to learn how to recook, because I didn't cook properly before this. I made myself ramen. I made myself like some crappy food that just about cut it when it comes to nutrition. And I literally had to rehaul my entire way of thinking of how to feed myself, because I wasn't just feeding to fill a space. I was feeding to fuel me.
Mm-hmm.
My dietitian that was, you know, you get a dietitian with you. And he was like, there's this rule I have, which is PVC, protein, veg, and if you have space, then your carbs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I stuck by. I always make sure, like, I've got some energy in me. Although I love my vegetables, so I definitely make sure that that gets in whether they like it or not.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was where it made and braked me.
Yeah. No, that's a huge thing. Like, there are a lot of people, and that's one thing that I think is really important and interesting to talk about, is that a lot of people, when they hear weight loss surgery, they just think, oh, this is an easy way to lose weight. Like, you get the weight loss surgery and there's no problems, everything's super easy, you can eat whatever you want and you can continue to lose weight. And like you said, like, that is true to an extent, maybe the first year, right? You can maybe eat ice cream only the first year because your stomach is tiny, right? But if you don't, at least this is my own opinion, I would love to hear what you think, but like, I don't think like you have to learn correct habits while you are recovering, because if you don't, like, that weight loss will stall and you can end up gaining weight even though you had a weight loss surgery. Like, would you agree with that?
I've seen people in person, as friends, as Instagrammers, who's done just that, and I've had to check up on many people who started the journey at the same time as me, or even started it afterwards, and then they drop off the face of the earth because they literally were like, yep, I gained it all and back and more, and they had the same surgery as me. And it's literally just because, like, they didn't make those habits in the first year. Like, they were relying on restriction and restriction alone. And unfortunately, weight loss is just one part. Like, the mind games that come with it is another.
Mm-hmm.
And,
people think that, a lot of people and this is something that I talk about, like weight loss it's not a silver bullet. Like it's not going to solve all the problems that you might be facing, right? Like
I agree.
Like losing the weight will solve certain things, of course, right? Like if you maybe you have knee problems or something like that, and having 200 pounds less on your body will help with that. But like if you're depressed, like losing weight isn't going to make you not depressed. At least that's my experience that I've had with myself, and then speaking with other people. Like it's not going to fix everything. So there still is work that you need to put in. And then just with weight loss, especially if you get a surgery, like it might come easy at the start. And now this is actually, I think it's important to say this, like this is actually something that happens to people that might not get the weight loss surgery. But if you're losing a significant amount of weight, like you can do things that are really not that difficult and lose a massive amount of weight. But eventually when you get to a point where you only have, 40 pounds, 50 pounds to lose, if you haven't learned correct habits, like that last 40 or 50 pounds is going to feel impossible to lose, because you just were like, oh, I just overly restricted and I still was eating XYZ thing, but I was able to do it because I had 200 pounds to lose. Like if you have that much weight to lose, you don't have to make that many changes to see results, and like this is something that everyone deals with, not just, people that have the surgery. So for you, like so with the weight loss, I'm kind of just curious, like how did it kind of play out with, like, you got the surgery? Was it a year later you were down 150 pounds? Like how fast did kind of weight start? Like, did you start losing weight?
I lost, from when I got first weighed in May by the surgeon, I lost 150 by December.
Wow.
And I got to Wonderland, by my first year after surgery, the anniversary.
Holy smoke. So how much weight is that in a year? I'm really bad with math. I know I just put you on the spot.
I'm an accountant, so I'm bad at math.
Well, probably at least like close to was it like close to 200 or something like that?
Well, yeah, more or less. If my calculator would work. So, oh my god, why have I times that? Pardon me. You definitely come to me for accounting. That's definitely a thing.
Hopefully none of your clients watch this.
I lost 233 pounds in a year and a bit.
Smokes.
So if you minus the 40 that I lost in that time being, then I lost 193 pounds in an entire year.
Yeah.
And that was through the weight loss surgery helping me with my portion sizes. Although if anyone ever cares to scroll back that far, because it's been 4 years, like I was still eating good vegetables, good food, good lean food. I learned how to cook properly. But I was also going to the gym, just continuing to go to the gym.
That's such a big thing, man.
4 or 5 days
that's such a big thing.
And I didn't absolutely go mental. Like for the longest time, I couldn't run. I couldn't go on a treadmill. I couldn't even sit on the chair without it, like the poor bike being enveloped by my ass. So the only thing I could do was go on a cross trainer because that was the softest on the knees. And then my PT said to me, "Would you like to try the rowing machine?" And I was like, "You're gonna kill me, but okay."
Uh-huh. I love rowing.
I love rowing, and I also hate rowing at the same time because it's hard, but it's good. So all I do is row 1,000 meters beforehand, and then go on the cross trainer for 15 minutes, and then the rest of the time I would lift weights because that's what I love more, is lifting weights. So I didn't want to put myself off of the gym by doing something I really hated. Mm-hmm. But I moved enough to make a difference, and then I constantly just started pushing myself a little bit further on those 15 minutes. Like I was like, I'll have to go for 20 and I'll try and do it a little bit faster. And and then I lost enough weight by April, so this is September to April, that I thought that it wasn't challenging enough. So I took up the couch to 5K, much to my trainer's dislike, because she was like, "You are 270 pounds, it's going to kill your knees, I'm not happy with this, but if you have to do it on the grass." So what I did was next to the leisure centre, which is like the gym and stuff like that, there was a big football pitch, and I'd go there at about either 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock at night when the floodlights from the football place were still on, because I didn't want anyone to see me run. And I basically do my little my little couch to 5K there. And weight dropped off after that because obviously I was moving a lot more, but I was still continuing to do my thing. And yeah, just I stayed consistent. I even had a little bit of a sort of stall in between when I went to Malaysia for my cousin's wedding, because obviously all that food,
Mm-mm.
small amounts, but still all that food.
Yeah.
And yeah, by the 7th of September, which was my first year surgiversary, I had gone down to 199, and
Jeez.
I continued losing down until December, and I got down to like in the high 160s. And I maintained a 160, 170 for the past 2.5 years.
Wow.
And then last year I had a brachioplasty, and I was from before my tummy tuck the year prior I had complications, so I made sure that I was really lean. So I did a thing with a bodybuilding lady, and I did a cutting for 16 weeks to prepare for the surgery, and I lost a lot of body fat. So obviously I'm not as lean as I was last year, and I've put on weight because Corona, and like I fell off my bike this year, so injury, hooray. But
I know how that is, trust me. I was just
I've
talking
seen
about that,
your problems
actually.
with your back injury.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, so I
all
think
that.
one thing that there's so much, but I want to talk about, like, when it comes to like weight loss surgeries and people that struggle with maybe not being able to lose all the weight, or gaining it back relatively quick, or like hitting really bad plateaus. What, in your experience, do you feel like is like the missing piece of the puzzle that people seem to not be able to place?
I mean, this is a learning curve for me, but literally going too hard to that point where it turns you off. So restricting too much, doing the gym too much to that point where you actually hate the sight of it, and you never want to set foot in there again. And like, because you're always focused on dropping as quickly as possible. Like, I dropped as quickly as possible because I was a high weight. Like,
Yeah.
higher weights burn more calorie because you're bigger and moving around more. But like, people are trying to chase that large number loss every month, even though you're like a lower weight, and it's going to be much harder, so therefore you have to put too much work in, and at that point where you just put yourself off completely and say bugger it, and then go the other way.
Yeah.
That's the problem. It's too everyone wants a fast. And I say everyone wants a fast, and this is coming from someone who had weight loss surgery, but I just wanted to live.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't care, and I needed some extra help. So like, now I'm losing weight the same rate as everyone else, like a pound or 2 a month. Like maybe 3 if I'm really good. Like, it's chasing easy, quick fixes too quickly. Like, I love the gym, so I, go to the gym when I want to. I'm not going to push myself if I hurt, because who wants that? Who wants to go to the gym when you ache like crap? And therefore, I'm not going to put myself off of ever going again. And I see some people like, I don't, like, literally Instagramming, I'm here again, I don't want to, I hate this place. And stuff like that. Or, I'm crawling up the walls hungry, I've only eaten a wafer thin today. I'm like, calm down, babes. Just make it a little bit easier on yourself. This is your existence.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's so... There's so many good things there. Like, I've always said, like, going from 0 to 100 is a surefire way to fail. Because, like, you might see some really quick results really fast, and, like, see some, like, whoa, I lost 50 pounds this month, or whatever, something crazy. But it's like, how long can you stick to doing that, right? Like, in the most of the time, people are like, well, I can't do this forever. And it's like, if you can't do it forever, eventually you're going to stop. And what happens when you stop, right? Like, does it mean you might gain like 10 pounds? I don't know. For some people, maybe that's what happens. But for a lot of people, it means you gain 100 pounds because you were like, screw it. I don't want to do it anymore. So I think that's really interesting. I also wanted to ask, like, I guess I know that you didn't come on here thinking you were going to give advice, but like, if you're talking to someone that is thinking about getting, weight loss surgery, thinking about going down that road, like, what would you say to them in regards of like actually getting it? Like, would you maybe be like, hey, maybe you shouldn't, or whatever? And then if they are, like, what are your tips on, like, getting the surgery, but then making the most out of it, right? Because I feel like there's people that get the surgery and they don't do that. And like, I think from my own personal experience, I think that's where the real progress is when you when you get as much out of that actual surgery, because obviously you're paying for it. It's painful. Like, why would you not want to get as much from it as you possibly can?
Exactly. I mean, like, for some people like me, this is the last chance. So I see a lot of people that want to have that quick fix and think that because there is a massive stigma behind weight loss surgery, and it's sensationalized on the media. And this is why probably people think, oh yeah, I'm going to look like that celebrity. And they don't actually see any of the work in between, because they think that it's just like suddenly damn to that. And I get people that message me like asking about weight loss surgery and how they should prepare. And I always tell them, prepare yourself mentally first, because it is a roller coaster and a half. Like, don't just rely on restriction. Don't chase restriction either. Like, if you are full, make sure you stop eating. Remember to chew your food. Remember to take your vitamins. Remember to have good sleep and have some water. Like, so many people in our community just do not drink enough water. And oh my God, I cannot even. Yeah. And make sure you have a good support around you. Yes.
I feel like I'm getting attacked right now.
Make sure you have a good support system around you, because there's nothing worse than, I mean, I haven't had this problem, but I've seen it. There's nothing worse than you trying your hardest and someone around you who's close to you keeps on putting you down and making it much harder, because it's already hard as it is without lack of support.
Yeah.
And I also see a lot of people, I mean, I know you don't personally want skin surgery, but I see so many people on This Is a Question who rush immediately after surgery. So after losing all their weight and hitting their goal rate, bam, goal weight, I want surgery now. And this is why surgeons say to you, you have to maintain your weight for a year plus, because you'll be surprised how long that lowest weight doesn't stay there.
Yeah. I mean, you just hit, like, I can't agree with you more. And like, the way I personally feel like if you're going to get surgery, you should wait a few years. Like, because recovering from that surgery takes a while, right? And so that means you're going to be sedentary. You're not going to be able to move much. You're probably going to not be for a lot of people, recovering from surgery makes you in a not the greatest mental place, because it's hard. And so you might go back to food like and this is like I've had my weight off for 7-8 years now or something like that, but like even I know if I was stuck at my house for days and days and days and weeks, like it would be hard for me not to want to like eat some extra food or whatever. Like that's such a good point, because it's really sad, but I have seen a lot of people that get the weight loss, get the loose skin surgery, and they gain a lot of weight back. And like that's not a place that you want to be, like, especially because it's I've had my friend Zach who's in a lot of the streams, and he also streams as well. He struggled with Zach Attacks Fat. He gained, and like, he's been very open about it, and like we've talked about it on video, so it's not like I'm like you know what I mean, like just like exposing him. But like he only gained like he didn't gain like all 200 plus pounds that he had back, but like you have like like 50 pounds. But what's crazy is that because of the loose skin surgery, a lot of times they make it so you like genuinely can't gain fat in certain places, like where you get the surgeries. So it's like the way that your fat distributes completely changes, and then that's also really tough for you, because you're like, I've never had big legs or whatever, you know what I mean? But now it's like all the fat is going there. So it really is like super important to like know that you are like, I'm solid. I know that gaining weight for me isn't going to happen, and then maybe get the loose skin surgery, right? Like that's a really good point. I'm glad that you brought that up.
I mean, I've gained weight from last year.
Yeah. So I mean, I've gained a little bit because of quarantine and injury and stuff. I talked about it in my last video that I put up. But so you've had a couple loose skin surgeries? Yeah.
So a year after maintaining, I had my tummy tuck, because I had 9 pounds of skin removed, because I held like where I wore my weight the most was on my stomach, so it was like all there. And being a runner, that was not fun, and I was starting to get sore, and it was awful. I mean, you run, so you know.
Yeah.
And like it just was uncomfortable. So I got that done, and then that was through a little bit of my own money, a little bit of my parents' money, and actually very nicely, 3K of it was crowdfunded through my IG, which I cannot thank enough.
Yeah, that's awesome.
At that point, I had like no money. And then, unfortunately, my nan's partner died, which meant that we managed to sell the house, and I got a little bit of money, and therefore I was allowed to get my arms done. Because that was also one thing that I hated.
Okay.
But that was more a cosmetic, definitely a cosmetic, and not a life thing. But yeah, I had my arms done
that's
last
important
year.
though. That's important, and not to cut you off, but like that's like if you're getting skin, like for me, I don't like if people get it, don't get. I really don't care, right?
Yeah.
But like I don't think there has to be some overarching reason as to why you get it, and it's like, oh, it's impacting my life so much. It's like if you want to get it because you think you'll look better, you're allowed to do that. It's like it's the same, like it's the argument I use with tattoos. Like I don't think you have to have some like crazy reason why you got a tattoo and it has to tie into your whole life. Like if you're like, yo, this hawk thing looked cool. Okay,
you should see my legs.
whatever.
I have
like,
World of Warcraft on there. So.
Yeah, do your thing, man. Like whatever.
So yeah, like I got it because I had these tattoos done, like the outside ones, before I even lost weight. So I was like, I just have bat wings and I want to show off my tattoos and it's not happening.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got that done last year, and I got my leanest last year, my lowest weight. That was hard to maintain because you've done a bodybuilding show, you know the cutting scene is hard. Yeah, and so definitely like that crept back up, and then we had Corona on top of it, and so I've gained like 30 pounds, which I'm now slowly chipping away at. But I'm also lifting a lot heavier than I ever have, so I'm happy about that. Like, you know, PBs everywhere.
Yeah, but the thing that you have to like, not you, but the thing that people I think should understand is like, for me, I am up 30 pounds from when I'm up like 40 pounds now from when I competed when I was at my leanest. Like my leanest that I ever was 180 pounds, and now I fluctuate between like 215 and 220, and so that's like 50 pounds, 50. I don't know, 40 pounds, something like that. I'm bad with math. We already established that, but it's a lot of people like there we go. Yeah, your leanest weight. Like that's why I always talk about like having a goal weight. For a lot of people, like it's I don't want to say it's pointless, but like focusing too much on it can be detrimental. Because for me, if my goal weight was 180 pounds and that was in my head, that's what I always had to be, I would currently feel like I am 40 pounds away from my goal weight. And like, I don't feel like I'm 40 pounds. Like I feel like maybe I could stand to lose 5 or 6 pounds just because I want to be able to move a little bit better. But it's not like I'm like, man, I need to like 40 pounds. That's a lot. That's a lot of weight to feel like I always have to lose. You know what I mean? And so that's why I say goal weights. I'm not saying you can't have them, but just be realistic and like understand that that's a moving target, you know?
My happy, comfortable weight is in the 170s because I maintained that for 2 years, and I know that that's a weight where I don't have to restrict too hard, and I can go out for food with my friend, but also I don't have to run like miles and miles and miles and lift bajillion kgs in the gym. Like, you know, that's my very happy maintainable weight, and that's what I'm trying to go to, not my leanest and not my lowest, because that's not gonna work. Like I still got loose skin on my legs, and now with the 2 surgeries, that's where my fat has gone to. So now I look like a human bowling ball pin.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to attack you when I said that earlier. I was just like, that just was something that came to me. Yeah, but it's true. Like with all of these things, like I mean, weight will always fluctuate no matter how healthy you are. Even people that have never been super overweight, like they fluctuate as well, you know what I mean? Like I think like if you're someone that was really heavy, you might fluctuate a little bit more because like loose skin and stuff, like I feel like it holds on to more water. But like even if you've always been 120 pounds, you still will fluctuate in between that, even, you know what I mean? So I think that it's important for people to like understand that, you know?
Yeah, that's life, and like the whole world is going through this right now. It's not just an individual thing. Like we're all stuck in the same crappy situation. So everyone's had to learn how to deal with all of this through COVID. Like when you were doing your at-home videos, like I pretty much used you guys. I don't know how you managed to do that many burpees. Crikey! Like I was just like, help me.
I'm a psychopath.
I can't. I was there in my kitchen, just like flopped on the floor, like, John, why have you done this to me?
Yeah, that was really fun, man. Like, I honestly really enjoyed it. Like, before I hurt my back over quarantine, like, I really, like, it was a really good time for me being able to create those at-home workouts for people and trying to make it to where, like, if you have zero equipment, like, let's make something happen, you know? That was a really, really fun time. And I was trying to make the best out of a crappy situation, right? Like, that's kind of what I was trying to do, because everyone was stuck without being able to, especially at the beginning of quarantine, like, everything was closed, right? For most places.
Yeah, you weren't even allowed, some places you weren't even allowed to leave your house.
Yeah, it was great. It was crazy. So, yeah, I'm glad that I'm not glad that I killed you, but I'm glad that you at least found some motivation to do something in that time period.
Thankfully, the UK opened up a little bit more, so we were able to run. So I did a lot of running over lockdown, and then I got a bike for my 30th birthday. So I was like, let's cycle everywhere. And that's when I got my knee injury, because I kind of pavement slid, which was not great. And I'm still dealing with that now, which is still not great. But, you know, you do what you can with what you got.
And that's what it's all about. Like, being able to make the best out of a situation that might not be the best, you know? And not letting it kind of ruin you and just be like, well, what's the point, right? Like, that's what a lot of people struggle with weight loss too, is like, you might have a bad day, you might eat something that you maybe weren't planning on or whatever, and instead of being like, well, what's the point? Might as well do this, might as well eat whatever I want. You just like have to be like, okay, well, you know, that wasn't the best thing, but let's move on. But it's hard for people to do, and I understand why, but that's where I think the secret is. Like, if you're able to start doing that in a lot of aspects of your life, but when we're talking about weight loss and fitness, if you're able to start being like, okay, well, that maybe wasn't the best, but let's move on. Like, being able to move on is such a huge part of this stuff that we're talking about. At least I think, like, personally.
No, I agree. Even with the habits that I learned from even weight loss surgery, like that first year, that helped entirely through this lockdown, because I can count on less, like, you know, under one hand the amount of times I ordered takeaway, because I was so used to cooking for myself. So instead, I just made sure that I cooked for myself instead. Mind you, it doesn't help that I live in the middle of nowhere, so there's no delivery, but that's not the point.
Yeah, don't ask me how many times I've had Chipotle delivered, because I will not give you an answer. But yes, you're right. Cooking for yourself is always the better option, 100%.
I feel that helped a lot. I mean, like, I recreated dishes that I would, I wouldn't, and that was really fun. Like, I was like making dishes and that I would never bother making, but I was like, I'm stuck in the house, I'm gonna do something. So yeah, like, those habits that I made in my first year still resonate into my fourth. And I feel 100%. Like that's the key to honestly keeping a maintainable weight, is like, learn your good habits and don't be a knob to yourself.
Yeah, it's crazy how, like, I agree with that. Like, how many how, like, people think like the habits that you need are like super hard to find, but if you find like the right habits in one in like the first year, like, it can carry you for so long, like, because like the things that you need to do, like, are going to be pretty much the same for the rest of your life. It's not like you need to learn to do one thing in year one and then like one thing in year two, and then it has to be, it's gonna be pretty much the same thing. So it's like, you do one thing and then that thing will keep you going for a long time, you know? Like, I think people get so frustrated or scared when they see someone that like me or like you that has like been doing this for so many years, that it's like, oh man, I'll never be able to do that for this long. But it's like, just start, and like those habits you learn at the start, if they're good, will carry you for the rest of your life. At least it has for me. I
agree. They have for me as well. Like, you know, don't go absolutely crazy. Start small, and it adds, all baby steps add up to the same place. Movements at all. Like, some people are like, I can't go to the gym. I'm like, walk. That's all I did when I couldn't 100%. Even go to the gym. I walked my dog. Well, I don't even have a dog. I walked my parents' dog. I mean, like, I was like, I
stole a dog and walked it. Okay.
There's even apps for that now. You could like borrow someone's dog to walk them. But like, you know, I drove over to my parents to go and walk the dog. He loved it. He was like, I've never had so many walks in my life.
I've never been this fit in my entire life before. This is crazy.
Who is this person that keeps on walking me twice a day?
No, I was walking my dog a lot over quarantine as well.
Nice.
But then it started getting too hot, and then obviously you can't do it then.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're getting sidetracked. But so if people want to find you on Instagram, where would they find you?
So it's Splattard, Splattard. It's Splat and Wizard combined because I'm a massive nerd.